Be with you guys in a second. Hello, John. Alright, looks like you are the first 3 times over. CompuParts. Yeah, well, I'll wait for everybody. I got this iPhone 10 I've got to do a screen swap on. So, I don't mind doing these. So make sure it's actually off. Yep, it's off. Make sure these things are off as much as I can before I do the screen swaps on them. It's not essential, but it's a good policy. That screen's actually surprisingly stuck in, so I think it's an original. Hey Elon, hey Jim, you finally managed to get clobbered. Okay, so that makes... I don't know if I got hit by COVID or something else, but yeah, I mean, I'm only just recovering. Like yesterday I wasn't too bad. Today I was slightly worse than yesterday, but I was still not too bad. It's very different feeling. Like I'm just more choked up and stuff like that, as opposed to the week before I was feeling really laden by whatever it was that was taking me to a beating. And then it sort of broke through yesterday, and it was just more like, well, you know, you got a bit of cough and snot, but you're not actually feeling like you're carrying a corpse on you. Hey, Ed Boss. Oh, CompuParts from Ghana. I know where that is. That most people probably should. That's okay, I've already dealt with micro. Oh, you got a PCR test? Okay, that's something I haven't actually done. Okay, there's something sticking in there. Hey there, Keith. Tim. They're from Missouri. Ah. Yep, this is an original. Wow, it's actually in pretty damn good condition. It feels kind of bad pulling this thing apart. Try and be respectful for it. Hey there, pro engineer. Obviously, I don't do as good as a factory job, but I try my best to do the best I can. Make it so the phone should still... Oh, man. Sometimes my hands just... Yeah. Obviously nothing like what Mr. Rossman has to handle, but sometimes the hands just don't want to steady up. Oh. Flipped out with a great fanfare. Always find this lower screen connector is always such a tricky little beast. Anthony McGregor, thank you for the random 2 quid. Nice to see you actually call it quid. Makes you seem like a more normal, humble person. And speaking of sickness, I see poor old Caradog was looking worse for wear last night on the Adam IT stream as well. Hey Jimbo. That's interesting, Jim. I actually didn't, with my sickness, I didn't get a fever. That was what I thought was particularly weird. It was just like this persistent lingering. That's not something that I'm accustomed to. Because yeah, normally I'm accustomed to, okay, I'll get the scratchy throat, and then we'll go through the itchy nose and the running, and then we'll get the fever, and we'll sweat and shiver for about 12 to 24 hours, and then bam, it's over. This was nothing as convenient as that. It was just every day waking up with pretty much the same feeling of, oh god, I'm alive. and then nothing much really changing. It's always disturbing to me at times when a sickness does not change. It just sits there and persists in being what it is. Miss Daniels? There's no Miss Daniels in here, is there? Yeah, we're just going to warm up the adhesive that holds that clear bracket on and pop the bracket. I know some people detach the flex from the bracket. Yeah, they just sort of peel it off. But I prefer to try and retain everything on the bracket and dislodge it. You got to be a little bit careful because you can wreck things. Okay, fortunately that went smoothly. Well, I've had 2 rounds of the vaccine, but they were the original 2. And then after that I was like, yeah, this is just trying to catch, like, trying to get the influenza shots, and it changes every 6 months. Well, obviously it's changing constantly, but you know what I'm saying. I hate it when they do this. They're like, we're helpful, we put the bracket in for you. And it's like, now you're making me have to actually detach the bracket, the flex from the bracket. Yeah, well. Make sure we transfer their data. Let's see. Wait, which one's which? What? Ach, niemand. My power cord just pulled itself out. How inconvenient for me. Jim will recognize this. And Jacob Anderson. It is interesting that about a year or so ago, my wife came down with a very similar sickness, and it persisted for around about the same sort of time, but I did not. But it was at that time that I had got the original COVID shots. So I wonder if she had COVID back then, but I didn't really catch it because I had the shots, but then this time around it still ended up catching up with me, but because the due to the nature of the vaccine, it doesn't have a long lifespan, combined with the fact that it actually, the virus itself is morphing all the time. So that dual combination has basically then left me as bare as a freshly born baby, subjected to it. Okay. I guess we get a free bracket. That said, I've got 1 million of the iPhone 10 ones. Hey there, Arnold G. I'll talk about the 1707 shortly once I've got this done. So I'm really not a fan of migrating the flexes across. I guess I've got to do it sometimes. Because the adhesive never sticks quite as well as it did originally, that's the problem. Okay. Make sure to never lose that teeny tiny tri-wing screw that's used over here. Is such a pain when you lose this screw on the side here, because there basically is no replacement for it. And then of course for this top section, a lot of people leave off the little itty bitty bracket, grounding bracket that's up there. But you do want to keep that as well. I mean, it's not going to not function if you don't have it, but it's always good to do your best to put it back where it was. I think the most frustrating thing with this grounding bracket is just simply getting it to line up again. Yeah, this is just a silicon kitchen cooking mat. There's nothing more. It's not fancy. Cheap, easy to get from anywhere, especially from eBay. Get a couple of them. They last a good while. They will eventually start getting little holes in them like this one has, so I am due to bring out my second one. Okay, I do find with the iPhone 10 it kind of helps to just put a little bit of a kink in that cable there, so that when you fold it down it doesn't push out and get snared. It's not very often you snare them or pinch them, but when it does happen it's awfully frustrating. The reason why I write the details and everything on the screen is because I'm kind of sick of people pulling Swifties on me, or trying to pull Swifties on me. Now, I don't suspect this person's going to, but it's just a case of once you're in the habit, it's good to continue the habit. This particular person's actually a long-term good customer. But sometimes what can happen is, like if say this is for one of the kids at school can often take these things apart. And when they do things like they steal each other's screens and things like that. And sometimes without the person knowing. And then if it turns up here and that's not marked appropriately, then I'll know. It's not actually for protecting the desk in the sense of against the heat. I don't mind if the wood gets... This is actually just a plank of wood that I put on the desk. The desk itself is a white laminate top. It's more just to stop flux getting on it. Okay, I wonder if this is actually flat. It doesn't seem to be coming on. It's the flux that I don't like getting onto the wood. Once the wood gets flux in it, it's sort of very difficult to get it out. Oh, okay, there we go. Wood display. should switch over. Being an iPhone 10, it might go to the 9 volt, 8 volt, 9 volt mode. I can't remember which model it was that they started doing that on. There we go. Yep. What'd they say? The dreaded iPhone unavailable. Try again in 15 minutes. Okay, at least they've actually got another time slot available for it. Lately I've had a few poor buggers where they bought their phones in and it's too late. It's already been pressed too many times. Fake from the broken screen. Not much I can do about it. That's the worst thing, is sometimes I'll say, oh, I wouldn't have got it fixed if that was the case. So, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Okay, I'm just going to write there. And that's quite annoying because really the phone is perfectly fine other than the data. So, yeah, they could always sell the phone. That said, most of the times when that does happen, I gotta admit the phone is actually often quite badly beaten up, as in the back smashed, the front smashed, the battery's in poor condition, the chassis bent. So it's sort of like the phone really has no resale worth at that point. Okay. I'm just going to put this on normal charge now. Now that I can see that it's charging properly, I'm fine with that. Just put that over there. Disconnect this. Alright, now we've got to put the 1707 back together. This is 1707 that we were fighting with the last couple of nights. So what I did is I went along and got the startup sequence guide for the CD3215s, and I went through and made it specifically for the 281, and through that I was able to find where it was having a fit, as it were. Yeah, let's see. 281 schematics. So yeah, if we go over to the notes and solutions, I've now got this full startup sequence here. So you can go through and yeah, showing the wrong stuff there. Yeah, you can go through and measure all the different data points. Anyway, it was on this SMC clock and data line here. That's where we were running into the problem. So I was suspecting it was going to be the SMC related, the I2C. But in this particular case, it turns out it wasn't actually the one that I was looking at. This one was actually the one that talks to the CD3215s, whereas I was suspecting it was the charging one with the banjo. So this up here is SMC5, whereas this one here is SMC4. So once I found out that we had issues on those two lines, one was holding around about 3.4 and then cycling, whereas the other one was holding just a constant 1.1 volts, and not cycling. So I knew I had a big problem there. And once I've sort of realized that, it was a bit of a gamble as to which one of these 5 items is going to be at fault. Like an idiot, I took the SMC off first and it didn't change anything, because that's just the way it goes. But in the end, what I decided was that given that there had been prior damage in wherever the hell the area was over here, then I would take the closest CD3215 to it, which was this one up here. Sure enough, I took that off and everything came normal, so I put a new one on there and away we were. So yeah, there was a different sort of issue to run into, and it did bring up an interesting situation for me, which is a lot of people say to me, Paul, why don't you use all of these tools that you can just plug in and they diagnose things for you and away you go. And it's because they are useful tools, things like TriStar testers, USB-C port, all that sort of stuff. But often the more sophisticated the tool, at least in perception, the more likely you will get falsely put into a sense that it has properly tested that part and the part is okay. But it's not going to be the case in these sort of scenarios, because while, say, in this case, the USB-C port tester, the CD3215 tester, it can test whatever's on exposed to the port connection pins, but it can't test anything on the inside. And in this case, it tested perfectly fine and said all the CD3215s are okay, but it wasn't really the case, because there are so many other lines that simply are not accessible through that port. So the trouble, okay, maybe it's more my issue, but the trouble with using a lot of the more sophisticated testing tools is that they can give you a definitive, mostly definitive, yes, it is faulty readings at times, but they can never give you a definitive, no, it is not faulty. So you can never conclusively prove that it's not faulty. You can only conclude that it's probably faulty. So like, one of the lines are detected as out of bounds or whatever. So, and because of that, and like I said, it's mostly sort of my fault, because I went into the mindset of, okay, it's tested it, it's not those, let's move on from that. And then I started chasing beryllium, which is more camera anyway, and then the SMC and the ISL, and you saw me, I went all over the board, but really in the end I should have just gone with the CD3215. So they can misdirect you, I guess that's what the thing is. It's a good chance that you can get misdirected with those tools. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them or shouldn't buy them, I'm just saying you still, even with them, end up having to do the hard work a lot of the time. So I guess for some people, myself, it's often easier just to go at it the hard way right from the start and not get distracted. Yeah, lesson learned. And on the upside, I wrote the new decoding diagnostic sequence in Flexboard View. I suppose some people are going to say, see, that's why you shouldn't buy Flexboard View. It just distracts you. You should go at it the hard way. You should do it the hard way and check every component individually. No shortcuts for you. You need to know their limitations. I do agree, yes. And like I said, it's just easy to get thrown off. At least, thank goodness, this has been ultrasonic again, obviously. So we can see, you can see the tiny tweezer marks either side. That's just for the plastic cover. It's not actually the chip itself that's suffering or anything there. Just need to check my SMC. SMC came up all right after the ultrasonic. Thank goodness for that. The ultrasonic did a pretty good job. I'm pretty happy with that. You do need to know their limitations, I agree. I think the problem is when things are sold or pitched as easy diagnostics, easy fix sort of thing. But really it should be sold, well, no, I'm not even going to go into it. It's a tool to help, but it's not a definitive tool. Definitive diagnosis, rather. Anyway, yabba yabba. So anyway, I probably could have saved myself 2 days of running around in circles if I'd just simply thought a little more about it and decided, well, you know what, you should just try the chips that are near the damage. And that's the other thing, is like when I go over a board and I can't see anything wrong with a particular part or something like that, and people are saying, you should change that, try that, it's going to be that. Particularly on a liquid damage situation. And that's why I'm very disinclined. I'm like, you know what, if I can't actually see anything, or it's not even in the region of where the liquid damage was, it's very hard to convince me to replace a part that doesn't seem like it's directly related. Obviously, that in itself brings its own complications, because every now and then you will get something that gets damaged indirectly due to liquid damage. But overall, I would say for those scenarios, I'll probably save myself a lot of pointless replacements by still, sticking to my whole really try not to replace things unless you can definitively show if they're not in the direct vicinity. Okay, shit. I've forgotten which thing this goes on. You're in big butt of trouble now, Paul. You know, I really most of the time these stickers don't even stay on for very long, but it would be nice if I could remember where the hell this one goes. Damn it. It really would be nice if I knew where that one went. For some reason I keep thinking it's on here, but I can't see any suitably large inductors. Unless it was over the top of that. I don't know. Anyone got a factory photo or something like that of a A202 00281? Let's see where those stickers went. Yeah, Miles, I've done the coil one. Like, I've done the big coil one, that one there. And you can see it's heat related. But I don't know where the second one went. Maybe it was up there. Not sure. Yeah, time to go look. Images. I don't know if the iFixit... I don't know. Why are you being like that? God damn it. Like I said, we can see that one there. I think maybe that one there? No, that's a chip. Need higher resolution. Yeah, fully tested. You know it's a load of crap. Quality not good enough. Okay, it's here. This is it. That's one there. There we go. Okay, I've got everything attached. I've got the screen cable connected. I've got the the shrouds on. Okay. Got to try and remember everything before I start screwing things down. I mean, geez, the number of times that you make that mistake. You get about 90% of the way through the reassembly and then you go, whoops, forgot about that. I do have repairs as well tonight, so don't worry, you're not going to miss out. I just need to get some prep stuff done so that when I wake up in the morning I don't, if someone messages me and says, hey, I need that, stuff that you know is pending and you're already ready to answer it, rather than, oh yeah, I've just got to wait a second, hang on, and then go rush off like a mad person, desperately trying to get that school assignment you forgot that was due today done before English class starts in 2 hours. Happy days, not really. B-Blood, I've already got that. Already got that feature. If you look in the board preferences, you'll see there's a top and bottom image option. That's okay. I enjoy telling people that I've already implemented the features that they've requested. Satisfying to sort of know that you're slightly ahead. Doesn't mean it's implemented well, but at least it has been actually thought of and done. Hey there, Nusacat. Hey, Tradie Trev, just saw you there. Lucky you've got a distinguished sort of looking avatar icon there, and it sort of pops out amongst everybody else. And it's actually one of the reasons why I changed my logo avatar to my business logo, in spite of Lewis Rossman having an absolute fit over it. It's because normal images, photos and things like that generally tend to just blend into them. You look at a big list of them and you can't tell one from the other in a hurry. So that's why I converted back over to my logo, which I know is slightly boring relative to micro, but it does make it easier for, if I am chatting or talking to someone, they can quickly spot me in the list. So yeah, it's intentional. Cats will certainly puke on your homework. They're not going to eat it. The dog will eat it. The cats will puke on it. Or pee on it. Yeah. Or they may shred it. Get in the claws and shred it. Needs to say I didn't succumb to the pressure of the New Yorker. Well, yeah, okay, so it's FreeBSD, no drama there. Do you like the little devil? I do like FreeBSD as well. Although it has been a long time since I've done a FreeBSD install. Do they still use the build system in FreeBSD? Yeah, when you want to install a package, you just go into the build tree and make it from there directly? Or do they have a new technique for that? Because I quite like the build system. I thought it was particularly good, and I wish that most of the other distributions, Linux in particular, would have something equally as good and dependable. I suppose some people are going to say, there's Gen 2 and Arch. I'm like, yeah, okay. Arnold, gee, that is the first time I have ever seen FreeBSD spelt out like that. I think that's a bit of a antithesis of the actual quality of FreeBSD. I ran into FreeBSD probably back in 96, 97. And it was what I would install when I really didn't want to have to go back to a machine for several years. I was using Linux on any of the machines that I needed to like try and do weird new things with, and I was in constant sort of administrative access to. But anything that had to be locked into a basement and was a pain in the backside to get to physically, it was like, we'll just go for FreeBSD for those ones. We're almost there, almost there. A few hundred more screws to do. Let's see, Arnold G went to a PC shop in 99 and saw a machine being worked on and was given the cold shoulder about. That was a risky move of you to ask that. What was it, an RS 6000 or something? I was going to get myself one of the... Oh shit, now I can't even remember what they're called. An Alpha. I was going to get myself an Alpha back in about 98, 99. Because they were pretty popular. But by the time I sort of had to jump country and stuff like that, I ended up just going back to PCs anyway. Oh, that's right. And at the same time, Sun Microsystems sent me over a V20Z dual Opteron rack mount server, so I was pretty much sold at that point. If you hear weird noises coming out of my throat, it's just because of the residual effects of the sickness, and every now and then something will resonate in my chest cavity. And if you're unlucky, it may turn into a sort of a stifled cough. I'll try and avoid that, but it may happen. Just telling you. Hey, Warren. Okay. IPX, XPX, good old Novell, Netware. Shame. They were pretty good to get us through the 90s, but yeah, their choice of networking system sort of was their downfall. I mean, yeah, they did, even like in the early, what was it, 94, 95, I think it was, when everybody was getting Trumpet Windsock installed and things like that. And Netware was bringing out their TCP/IP bridge to IPX, but it was just sort of like not enough, too late. And then when Microsoft started dominating the market with, of course, Microsoft Office, and because that wasn't synergistic, as it were, with Netware, and of course Microsoft had their NT 3.51, the writing was on the wall, and it was all just legacy Novell stuff that basically kept them riding for a few more years. But yeah, it was pretty much end of the road for them. I mean, all our hotel systems were running them with a hotel system called Fidelio. Wasn't a huge fan of it, but it seemed to do the job. But then again, I mean, hotel systems are a bit like accounting systems and CMS systems. and all the rest of it. They're always, you basically, you train up on them, and you sort of invest in knowing how they work, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the best. But you don't shift because it's just simply too costly to move away. Yeah, just realised I'm revealing personal information almost. The first LAN partying stuff that I ever had was probably 1992, I think. Or actually, no, when I was at school, 1989 it would have been. We had a couple of MacBooks, not MacBooks, a couple of iMacs or whatever they were, and they were running Falcon 16, and so we were doing head-to-head combat over a null modem cable. Fun days. Yeah, a lot of the stuff back then was done over null modem cables. It was good for person to person at least. Not very often you did dial-up stuff though. Apple logo. Oop. Anyway, personal information, Apple logo. We're all good again. Thank God for that. Do not want to see that one again. I'm actually not sure what to do about the charging of this one because it was liquid damaged originally, and I fixed up that liquid damage, and I got to admit, when I looked at it, I was pretty happy with when we were looking at the circuit board originally when it came back in and we first popped it open. I was happy with how it was looking. It didn't look like it was, oh, this is pretty marginal, and it's not surprising that it collapsed and died again. I was very happy with this one. And then there was that short circuit on the Berkelium, but I'm not sure exactly how that was playing into it, because this was definitely a CD3215 yanking down the I2C line. That was actually the fault. Now that CD3215 was in the path of where that liquid damage had occurred, so maybe it was liquid damaged in the past and it just sort of had a weakness that it developed throughout that process, and then finally it came to head. So I don't know, maybe I'll just charge a baseline fee, bench fee on this, and also make a note that all future liquid damage jobs, it's difficult because the other problem is that a lot of shops will want a cheaper price for a data recovery only repair, and I can understand that. But at the same time, quite often data recovery repair actually takes longer than a standard repair. So it's, yeah. Okay. Hey Coda, how's it going, Phil? You've been pretty damn prolific, mate. All the videos you've been putting out. Putting everybody to shame. B-Blood, unfortunately the market doesn't respond very well to the hourly rate sort of stuff, even with a fixed baseline. Mostly because, I guess I should say, the people are disinclined to send it in because they're thinking, well, you know what, this could take forever and we've got no way of verifying that it actually took that long. So that's why we sort of pardon me, I'm choking up now. That's why we end up with the whole fixed rate situation. Because otherwise there's just no real way of getting people to be ballsy enough or game enough to pay you to do the job. They're going to go, you know what, it's probably going to take forever, so I'm not going to bother getting it fixed. there is an absolute squillion parts that are replaced here because I asked someone else just like their insights on something, and they suggested they've had that problem themselves, like with the no power and all that. They said when that's happened to them, they just wipe out the entire ISL area. So I wiped out the entire ISL area, redid it all. It turns out it wasn't required. Yeah, well, live and learn. That's the other problem is also when you get into the habit, or if you start to ask people for solutions, and if they are stupid enough to give you a working solution, you tend to immediately then try them, or start asking other people questions before really engaging your brain. And it doesn't take long. It only takes you to have one or two successes with asking someone else, and then your brain says, screw this, let's go ask someone else before we think. And that's what happened. Okay, I've just got a cough. Just felt like I need to dislodge that. Hey, Electro Rep. Do you have a question, actually? Is the Wi-Fi module paired in 233.7? Yes, it is, yeah. Good luck with replacing that. Pretty much every single board post A1707, they're paired. So if the Wi-Fi module gets wrecked on a MacBook, for the most part, you may as well just say, you know what, here you go, here's a little Wi-Fi dongle. One four eight something. I remember this bracket belongs to 1 4 something. Ach, nee man, what was it? 148 something? 1484. That's it. Explains why I took it, because it's a no fix board. Right. Okay, what have we got here? Yes, we've got an upgrade that I've got to do. Okay, this is a battery replacement, speaker replacement, general cleanup, just a make me feel better computer fix-up job. Bought an iCloud locked donor board, but I guess you can't use it. Yeah, that's right. They're good for parts, just general, but yeah, when it comes to this sort of stuff, you're pretty much up the creek. I'm sorry. It's just the way it goes. Okay, I don't think I've even bothered to put a sticker on this, have I? Yeah, I have. 1549. Oh, there you are. Okay, scan it in. Beep. Battery has its airbags deployed for safety. Now, I was a good person, a good adult today, and I cleaned out my air conditioner, like a box air conditioner on the wall behind me. Cleaned the filter. I actually got a toothbrush and scrubbed the radiator grill on the inside, because normally it accumulates a lot of crap, dust that gets past the piss poor filter that they put on it. Yeah, they put those plastic woven things that really don't stop any of the dust at all. The only time those things stop dust is after they've accumulated enough dust that dust can't go through them anymore. Then they're starting to stop dust. And by then there's usually so much dust on the radiator itself that it's like, well, there's no airflow anyway. Okay, what did we say this is? 1549. Always mark the drives. But I must say, now that I've cleaned it, it sounds a bit quieter. I can feel it's cooling better. Probably because it's got more than 25% of the surface area to work with. Did you know in 2005 Dell tried getting Apple to license? Oh yes, yes. Many people have tried to get Apple to let them run Mac OS because a lot of companies know that Mac OS is actually not a bad operating system from a user usage perspective, a user experience. I'm not talking technical reasons, I'm talking user experience reasons. And quite frankly, that's usually what wins the market over, which is why Microsoft Office stole the market away from what was perhaps technically superior as in the form of WordPerfect 5.1, Lotus 1, 2, and DBase 3. Lotus and DBase may be a little bit weak, but certainly WordPerfect technically was an excellent piece of software, and I think that in many ways it created superior documents compared to Word, and it also made you as the creator of the documents think more about what you were writing. It's a bit like, yeah, I didn't need to take that screw up. It's a bit like when you write documents using LaTeX. Yeah, you just end up with more beautiful documents in the end, in most cases. I mean, I still love WordPerfect 5.1. I mean, I don't use it anymore, of course. I tend to use Vim and LaTeX, but it was definitely good software. Get that. It is confronting though when you first get onto WordPerfect 5.1 in DOS and you can just get this blue screen and a cursor and it's like nothing else. Maybe I think there was a status bar at the bottom. And so yeah, it was sort of from the era of where you train to learn how to use computers and software as opposed to the computer and the software accommodated you, which is what the Microsoft philosophy, Windows philosophy sort of was, and that's how they basically won out. It wasn't because of management, in this case, that won the purchasing war. It was their staff. So the staff would buy it for themselves, maybe at home or something like that, and then they would bring it into work or want to use it at work, and so on and so forth. Particularly, Word was good, but I think what really won with Office was Excel. Excel definitely did make spreadsheeting very quick to get into. It was just like, oh, here you go, press that button, there goes all your charts. Being able to just like drop a chart, select your rows and columns and just say graph it, and does it. That simple sort of, so to speak, feature, I think is what really cemented things for Office. And of course managers, they would be like, oh, quick, I got to make a fancy graph, so they'd get themselves some Excel, get a nice color dot matrix printer. Does anyone remember those things? They were always hellishly fun. You get those ribbons and they're like 4 color bands on them or something like that. And you get maybe 5 or 6 good pages out of them before the ribbon was wrecked in one color or the other. I've dropped a screw in here somewhere, I know, I'm aware of it, but I just don't know where it is yet. Apparently the speakers are not the greatest on this either, so we're going to take them out. Where'd that screw go? Ah, there it is. Hey, Jim Allen. I mean, I still know the Lotus 123 commands messing out. That was the upside of things like WordPerfect and Lotus 123 and DBase, is that if you were proficient with the keyboard you were exceptionally proficient with those programs. And then when you had to be forced to use Windows and Office with Excel and all that, you then all of a sudden you lost a lot of that proficiency because you have to reach for the mouse all the time, things like that. So in terms of outright productivity in the hands of a trained, experienced operator, WordPerfect Lotus was superior. But in terms of Joe Blow coming along and learning how to use Office in a day, you just couldn't beat Microsoft Office. Yeah, Windows did have the shortcut keys. The trouble is that the people who came from WordPerfect and Lotus, they knew their shortcut keys and they felt jaded by the fact that they had to learn different ones. And then the people who were new or just started with Windows didn't really care to learn shortcut keys. So it was sort of like shortcut keys were kind of the thing that nobody wanted to use. Yeah, you didn't want to learn it all over again. So it either had to be a direct copy of what you were doing in Lotus and WordPerfect, or nothing. So I mean, I'd be like that with Vim. If I had to change to a new editor and it doesn't have Vim commands for keyboarding, I'd probably just go back to using Vim. We've got to get this battery out. I've got a frog coming up. Can feel the frog. Alright, so we don't F up these screens, because these are profoundly expensive screens. But these screens cost more than what, say, a 1708 screen would, or anything, even 1706 screen would. They're older, and they're not as good, so to speak, but they cost a hell of a lot more. So if you ever break a 2015 1502 screen, just throw the computer away, it's all over. Conversely, if you ever find one with a perfect screen, then you've got a gold mine, so to speak. Not really. Because what you'll do then is go on to eBay and say, I want $600 for this. And everyone's going to go, nah, screw it, we're not doing that. We're going to throw our computer away instead. So you've got two parties that basically will not... There's a valley of value between them. And they're not going to come to agree. Man, that frog wants to come out. Just trying to be careful because I don't want to knock the trackpad connector board there. So I'm just sort of like slowly wiggling my way in. Basically, your 1398s and your 1502s have the most expensive screens for the size. 1398s probably are now starting to fall off pretty quickly, simply because people are giving up on the 1398s. It's sort of like, you know what, they're getting old. The M1 is showing it's working well enough. So probably should change this soon. It's starting to get a little bit chippy. There we go. Code, as long as the screens are the same year and such, you'll be okay. But in the 1502s, the screens are not interchangeable across the years in most cases. Certainly the 2015 is exclusive to the 2015. So if you do have a 2015 board chassis and another year of screen, then no, it's not going to work. I had some fun on 7 Days to Die last night after I finished up my work fixing that 1707. I'd sit down and relax a little. and Elita said to me, "Come on, let's do a do a tier 5 job." So I finally found a tier 5 job that wasn't a damn skyscraper. It was a factory instead. So I was thought, yeah, you know what, I'll take the factory because I helped Elita get through it the other night. So I already had the map in my head and knew where the dear old zombies would be hanging out. So I did that. Geez, I nearly died a few times just through bad luck, and those damn vulture pigeons keep attacking me when I'm least wanting them to. And I also was getting a lot of walk-ins, like, zombies coming in just off the street. They're not actually part of the job. And so they don't show up as markers on your radar. And so you're about to attack, or you're getting attacked by some colossal mob in front of you, and you got that under control, only to find then you're getting hit from behind due to some damned randos. Anyway, so that was fun enough. But around about, I think it was about middle of the day, 7-day time, I realised it was actually a damned horde night as well. So I had to get the job finished before, too long. And I'm about 3 kilometres away. The job was 3 k's away, about 3.3 k's away from my base. And so I think I finished it at just after 8 o'clock or 2000, and I just managed to get home at about, I think it was 21:48. I got home 21:48, so I had 12 minutes to get into the house, rejuvenate my health, and get ready for the zombies that were about to arrive. Fortunately for me, the base is pretty good, and I was absolutely loaded with exploding crossbow bolts. So it was a pretty non-eventful sort of zombie horde night again. But it was, just cutting it down, the time down to the last 12 minutes was pretty interesting. It is interesting, though, that we have very different playing styles. I'm very cavalier when it comes to running around on those jobs. I will get myself into some pretty bad situations and just shoot my way out, or I do some dumb things quite frequently, particularly when you're having the stress of the moment and you do stuff like you pull you select the wrong thing, like you pick up a red grenade rather than a normal brown-grey grenade, and you blow yourself up, or you have the exploding crossbow arrows on and you shoot a little bit too late and you're within the explosion radius, stuff like that. But I still manage to live most times. And so, I'm very cavalier, carefree when it comes to playing that game. Conversely, in my real life, say like these MacBook repairs and whatnot, I do tend to be far more on the conservative, cover my ass type scenario person. Whereas Alita, when she plays zombies, she's very cautious. She likes to use blocks. She puts concrete blocks up on the wall and slowly works her way around. Make sure she's always got a good escape route, things like that. Do Australians have DNA ancestry page shows? I don't know about DNA, but I'm pretty sure there's ancestry records that, if you really are that interested, you can find out. I've never bothered to check myself. I'd say 50-50, but then for all I know, I'm also 50% likely that, based on some of the photos I've seen of my father's side, there's probably going to be a bit of interesting blood in me. On my mother's side, it's certainly British heritage or something like that. Yet, funnily enough, I was my British heritage, but then also my grandfather was Greek. I should say my step-grandfather was Greek. My real grandfather I didn't know about until I was probably 17, and that's when I found out it was more British. So yeah, sort of fun and games. Still, when you grow up in Adelaide, at least initially, you it's hard not to pick up some sort of British aspects. It's just Adelaide is a bit like that. Bad teeth. Yeah, is that? Yeah, I don't really have the bad teeth for that, so yeah, I guess I sort of lose out on that. Have they done studies into why it might be such that the British do suffer bad teeth like that? As in, to what, like, evolutionary advantage that might have given them? Maybe help them chew on odd-shaped food or something, I don't know. Or maybe gnawing on the brains of the French. Oh, John. Okay, I know Glenelg. Yep, I was I was born in grew up in Seacliff. And of course, everybody in Adelaide knows the only place you go shopping was down in. You take the train out to. Oh shit. Was it Glenelg Shopping Centre? Oh crap, now my brain's gone and farted on me. As a kid, when I visited Adelaide, I would just catch the train. I didn't even ask my parents sometimes. I don't know what I was thinking. Just catch the train into Adelaide Mall, walk around. I don't know, where the hell did I even get the money for the train tickets, I wonder? Yeah. And no phones, no nothing. I guess my mum would just assume I'd come back. It's like, oh well, if he doesn't come back, yeah, he's young enough, we'll make another one. Rundle Mall. Well, I just always knew it as Adelaide Mall. Yeah, those balls, I do remember those. Okay, battery's cleared, so let's put a new one in. Geez, Coda, that's some serious dedicated moves if you want to do that. I mean, I'll give you props for having the having the assets to do that, as it were. Oh, upside down, mate. What is this? Now, these batteries almost never go in as smoothly as you want. They're always like, no, we're not going to fit here. So, damn it. £8,000. Jeez, mate. Do you have any sort of health, like, insurance that helps with that? Personally, it's not the cost that would bother me, per se. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, yeah, we all want to reduce the costs, but it's the process of doing it. And you'll probably have to be awake and in the chair, won't you? It's not something they'll do under general anaesthetic, would it? Anthony McGregor. The view that we have bad teeth stems historically from not caring about it being Hollywood perfect until... Oh, okay, fair enough then. So there's statistically there's no greater presentation of bad teeth in British populations relative to the rest of the world. Is that what you're saying? Allowed to be put under for that kind of work. Oh, cool, nice. Beauty of the national health system is I'll put you under if you want them to. Oh, nice. Okay, Darren, that might explain it. Yeah, because I really can't remember. I went to school there for I think about 6 months to a year as well. It was kind of weird. I found it interesting that you would school would finish early if it was a hot day. It was like, oh, sorry kids, it's over 40 or whatever it was back then, 37 or something like that. You can all get to go home. Meanwhile, because at the time I was up in, for the most part, we're up in Jabiru, the Northern Territory, which is where we actually were living. And it was bloody hot up there, almost all the time. Did you get a day off, moment off school? Nope, nope, no chance. Stay in school, you little bastards. Your parents are out there working hard. You don't get to go home easy. I'll have to put you under for a root canal. Wow, okay, that's nice. To be fair though, if you do get general anesthesia, it's the wake up process and everything. You got to weigh it up. Some people find it actually more traumatic to go under general than it is just to be under local. I suppose it just comes down to the individual, choose your poison, as it were. Yeah, dry trev, yeah, I guess it's sort of like the polar opposites there. Jabiru would have been in the when we were living out in the ranger site, like in summer. Yeah, I mean it was nasty. That would have been 79 through to 82, 1979 to 82. That's where I split my head open good and proper over there. That was a terrifying day for the nurses directly across from the school. It's kind of convenient though, to be honest. I split my head open in the schoolyard and they rushed me straight across the road to the clinic. We've got a bleeder. Yeah, I was bleeding everywhere. It was a good job too, really good job. On my head, yeah. I was hit it on a concrete pipe. You know those in play yards? They have those concrete pipes around about 4 foot diameter, maybe 6 foot diameter, and yeah, you just sort of like Besser pipes or whatever they are, and you just link them together normally to storm water drains and things like that. Yeah, I just didn't duck enough, and I clipped the lip and right off the top of my head and gave myself a nice little hello flap. Yeah. When I visited Adelaide, were the trains red and really stinky of diesel? I don't recall it. No, I don't recall enough details of it. I kind of thought they were electric, to be honest. So I would have taken the line right past Seacliff into town. Occasionally, Marion's the place I was thinking of. Yeah, occasionally we went into Marion, but that was always with my parents. I do remember being in Marion and chucking up a fuss because I wanted my electric motor Lego now. I couldn't wait 2 weeks to get it. I needed it now. And my mother's pleading with me like, come on, can't you just wait 2 weeks for it? No, I want it now. No, I don't have enough Lego. Because I wasn't at home. I was visiting, even though I probably bought half a suitcase of... my mother probably jammed one pair of undies into my suitcase, and the rest of it I would have, covered with, just poured my Legos in there. But I desperately wanted that motorised Lego, Technic motorised. And I wasn't going to wait for it. Because, when you're a kid that age, you don't quite understand the fact that some things cost quite a bit more money than what your parents can actually afford at the time or want to spend on you because you're just a little crap-faced brat. But no, you got to sit there and you got to chuck a fast in the middle of the Marion shopping centre. It was Myer, yes. Would have been Myer, would have been in. I was a delightful child. Hey, Harold. No, okay, would have been. Okay, interesting. Yeah, those are the details you don't always remember as a kid. B blood, you still got your wisdoms at 62. Yeah, in that case, you're kind of right. I would go with your perspective there, and if they haven't given you trouble, leave them in. Because sadly, it seems in many cases, surgery begets surgery. So you get one thing fixed, and they go, "Oh, we found this other problem while we're in there, and it's sort of exasperated now by the fact that we just did that surgery. So we better get this one done too." And then it's just this long chain of events until they eventually declare you dead on the surgical table. Well, we've got another dead one. Fuck it. But it is interesting to sort of compare the relative fear, paranoia, and such of the 70s, or, back then. I don't like to say that too often, but yeah, back then compared to, say, now. So, okay, this is not quite sitting in as cleanly as I would like yet. I've only got one wisdom tooth left, so that's why I can sort of maintain some semblance of being a reasonable person on the internet. And the only reason why that stuck around is because I had a filling. I had a hole in a tooth when I was probably about 16, 17, and the dentist that fixed it didn't really fix it properly, and so it just kept rotting on the inside. And because I had no experience with that sort of thing, I wasn't aware that this was what was happening until one day it just basically went full nuclear as I was on my way on a long drive, and I had to go to an emergency dentist and get it temporarily resolved. And then when I went back to the dentist that did it in the first place, he goes, "Oh, well, yeah, too bad. You can either root canal it, or we can rip it out." And of course, me being a dim-witted 16, 17-year-old with other things on his mind, I just said, just take it out. I got plenty of others. So, with that removed, then when it came to taking my wisdoms out, the dentist sort of said, "Well, you've got space there for that particular one quadrant of your mouth, so there's no point taking the wisdom out for that. But the others, they got to go." And that was a fun couple of days, sitting in the chair, staring at the dentist and the nurse. The nurse was more interesting to stare at. So, don't use an... Oh, that was painful to watch. Yes, on Castaway. Very painful to watch that. Some people are blessed to not even have any wisdoms grow through. They were the truly wisest of all. The scene in GTA V was... What's GTA V? All I can think of GTA V is Gran Turismo. Bow and arrow string, kids doing their own. I've seen some people do that. Someone did it with a firecracker once. I can see that could go really badly if the tooth is genuinely not ready to drop. Oh, Grand Theft Auto. Okay, it was that. Okay. I don't know. I've never played the game. I just know of the game. Okay, let's see. I think I'll do feet on this one as well. Let's see. Yeah, I might do the thermal paste on this one for them, just to check. Should have done it while it was out, but oh well. Yeah, I'm not really a person who plays a lot of games at all. Like I said, the fact that I'm playing 7 days is amazing in itself. Before I played 7 days, I was playing some other games on Steam, like some car game. Can't remember what it was now. Gas Guzzlers, I think it was. It's sort of like a car racing shoot 'em up type game. It's not really a proper racing simulation as such. Gas Guzzlers Extreme, that's it. Hey Catherine. Yeah, Warren. Mad Max Simulator, basically. There's no real definitive way of determining if this heatsink transfer paste really needed replacing, other than, of course, you're subjected to a number of tests, but it's still not... Yeah, it can be good enough. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like it was suffering or anything. It's always a bit amusing that on MacBooks, for the most part, the PCH part of the chip is not heat sinked. And it catches you out on something like the 1466s, where the heatsink will actually go over the PCH section, but it doesn't actually make contact with it. But what happens is you put all the paste up there, and it doesn't mean anything. It's useless. Oops, we're going to have a shot there. That's okay. It spreads everywhere anyway. Squish, squish, round, 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 baby. That's it. You feel that suction hit, you know you got the spot. Hey Studio 54, thanks for sorting out my issue last week. Crikey, Studio 54, I feel bad. I'm trying to remember now what it was. It's been a bit of a rough week. I've been pretty unwell, so I actually can't remember everything. So, do you want to enlighten me again? Adelaide is progressing in the 20th century. 2 out of 4 trains electrified. Haha, I thought you were going to say they've knocked down most of their churches. For those who don't know, Adelaide is known as the city of churches, at least in Australia. We don't talk about the brothels. We'll let the ACT take that one. Where's the compressed air? Still got to put the feet on it though. Right, feet. I'm just not sure if I've got them here or whether I'm going to have to go down to the workshop, the other room, at the other end of the house. Oh, damn it. Okay, I've got to go take a walkie walk. Get some 1502 feet, and I'll be back. And the only thing I don't like about putting replacement feet on is that you've got to perforate these areas here. And I prefer not to perforate things if I don't have to, but you got to, otherwise you can't get out the old foot stump. These gloves are starting to get a bit gnarly. The adhesive on this is old. It's got that horrible sort of half molten stickiness that makes you a little bit squeamish on the inside. Creature found ice inside his basement air vents. I would expect you would in your climate. Or am I missing something obvious there? Unless you mean internal combustion engine, in which case I would be quite curious about that. In-circuit emulator, that's another possibility, yes, especially coming from Creature. Wouldn't be surprised if there was an in-circuit emulator down there. Just remove the Wi-Fi IC from PP bus 3 is still short on the board. Oh, gee, well, you didn't try other parts first, eh? You got to remember, Phil, that like S2 will be connected to the S3, which will probably be connected to the S4, which could be connected to the S5. So you got to go through. Start at your S5, see if that one's shorted for 3v3 and then work your way down. You're probably going to find it's shorted somewhere else. You'll go through that schematic and trace it through. I got that feeling of, I got that hair feeling on the end of your nose. God, that's so annoying. with MacBooks, there's a lot of aliased rails. Oh, I'm treating this like it's a 1706 or something like that, where you got to slide the thing in, rather than this one where you just drop it down. So much easier. Oh, the Wi-Fi, is anything getting warm after you clear 3 or 4 short? Okay. Oh well. Interesting. I guess now, with it removed, you can try again and see where the power is going. Or maybe it's just meant to be going there, and there's no short. Which board's this for? What's the board code? By the way, if you're putting these back bottoms back on, these 2 screws here are shorter than the rest of them, okay? So before you start, look around, find the 2 shortest screws, and they're the ones for those 2 positions there. Dead short. Oh, 2016. So it's such a strong short that you're not picking it up on infrared, because it's not dissipating any power because it's too low resistance. You looked at the PMIC? Oh, I know what's going to be probably going on there, Phil. With those boards, the PMIC chip on them does such a good job of detecting when there are shorts that it will cut things out before you can get a chance to actually see where the short is. So have you checked around the PMIC, all the pins, all the inductors around it? There should be test points on each and every one of them to see if any of those are shorted, because that often is where it is. But then if you've got heavy liquid damage, who knows, maybe something's just burned its way through. Good luck to you, kind sir, I say. Good luck to you. Okay, let's go to our memory, bring up our 18 volts. We need to see if this thing will even charge. Oops. Breakage. Helps if I turn it on, doesn't it? Okay, immediate green light, that's a good sign. Orange light, excellent sign. Bong, best sign. Creature, what are you talking about now? I should really put a graph on the the power supply meter as well, because yeah, I've got it for the USB-C one, like this brain reverse. I got it for that one, but I haven't got one for this one. So maybe I should do a graph for this one as well. Okay, looking good there. Nice thing is with these models, I can shut that down and I can boot from my own macOS stick, and I can do my own tests to verify things are running along as I want. Whereas the new ones, you just can't do it. Unless they've actually explicitly turned off secure boot or permitted you to boot from an alternate source. Yeah, up the creek. Oh wow, they got Windows on this one too. I just realised it's past midnight. At least I got the cell phone fixed, I got this cleaned up, and I got the 1707 rebuilt. So yeah, 3 things for the night. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, secure boot is such a pain, particularly now. Also, then they won't even let you have external display. It's like, how many ways would you like us not to be able to get access to the customer's data for them? Ed, congratulations for tomorrow, 62. You're just getting started. Let's see. I need people to be less careful with their gear, or use shoddy power supplies or something. Give me a chance to make a living, for God's sake, man. Smash a few windows. So we're just running Valley. Yeah, like, blow the fuse. Or just remove the fuse. Speakers seem to work. Frame rate's a little shoddy. 30 frames per second. Come on, you can do better than that. What are you, a low spec? Oh no, 2.7i5, 8 gigs. Okay, it's picked up 40 frames per second there now. And then dives back. I mean, it is just the Intel GPU. Temperatures are all crazy as usual, 100, 103. That's actually normal. You actually want to see that sort of temperature on a MacBook when you're testing to see if you've done things right. If you start seeing 80 Celsius or something like that, even when you're running Valley on a MacBook, then you've done something wrong, because it means then the MacBook is not going as fast as it should be. It's ridiculous, I know, but you need to be seeing 100 Celsius plus when you're running something like Valley and getting the proper frame rates. Otherwise, it means that something is getting throttled somewhere. Hey, horse. Creature says, skip out the repair and have them send you the money. That's why I write the software. I get someone else to do the repair, I get the money for the software. Exactly, yeah, the heat means everything is working. And all your sensors must be working, and the SMC must be working, because the SMC is like, no, let him be, that's fine, let it run 100, that's good for us. But if it loses track of its sensors, it will then say, nobody go full speed, we're going to run the fans at full speed, that's the only thing that goes full speed, and everybody else has to go slow. So the fans will go up to 6,000 RPM, but you'll only be seeing ridiculously low frame rates and 60, 70 Celsius on the chip. It seems to be running okay, so yeah. What you really want to look for, if you're trying to work on the MacBooks, you want to look at how quickly that temperature drops though. Like once I stop Valley, you want to see that it drops off pretty quick, and we're already down into the 70s, so it's doing its job. If on the other hand it sort of persists and like just slowly sort of goes over a bit of a hump, then you've got problems with your cooling. But it's cooling it off pretty good. The fan is also dropping right off, so that's the other good sign that your cooling system is, according to the Mac, is doing its job right. It's just one of those weird different things that are different on Macs, is that they by design are meant to run disturbingly hot like that for this series. Obviously with the M1 series it's a completely different ball game. I'll just check that the keyboard works on this. In fact, I should just check everything. No point sending it back and it's dodgy. Original keyboard, haha. I said you cannot do this with aftermarket keyboards. Unless they're very good aftermarket keyboards, and I've never encountered one that will allow me to do that without feeling like you're going to rip a cap off. Okay, the keyboard's fine. Oh, Cody, you got it. What was it? You're going to tell us, or are you going to be a jerk and not tell us? You're going to be a jerk and you're going to make it like I outsmarted the great magician Mr. Daniels and found my bug before he did. I didn't get a fair chance. UDP 701, EDP panel naval, power naval short to ground. But I guess the question is, what's shorting it to ground? That's the terrifying. It was UP 701. Oh. I thought you said you replaced that, or was that another chip? Now I've got to look and see what you said you did replace. Oh, you replaced UC 710. Okay. Oh, good. Screen brightness, up, down, jolly good. Let's see. Okay, that's good. Okay. The machine is ready for another 10 years of life. Excellent. Alright then. Well, that's it for me tonight. Thanks for all being here. Sorry we didn't actually get any soldering done or anything like that, but many times on a Sunday night when you're preparing for a Monday, you really are just trying to tie off jobs that you didn't quite get finished the night before or the week before or whatever, and so it's a chance to tie off the jobs and get everything ready for the Monday. Few things less to worry about on the Monday. I just noticed I've actually clipped this corner here. It's suffered a bit of damage, and bit of a shame. They're lucky that the screen didn't break. Like I said, if the screen had broken, just throw it in the bin. So I'm out of here. You take care. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.